Hello everybody and welcome to Emerald Meadows, your one-stop channel for all things hands-on. Today is going to be drone day again. Those that have been following the Taro KK 2.1 build, 3 is still in the works because of the problems I've had with the GPS. I'm still trying to work that out. I'm getting another product in and then hopefully I can get the GPS working. The altitude hold though was flawless. I still like it. I like the controller a lot, but for the advanced features I can't do a video on it until I get those things done. So today we're going to move along now with the next in the series, and this is going to be the Naze32. And as before, we're going to create a base platform what I call a stable platform. That way we're kind of sure that when we start putting on the more advanced controller, and I consider the Naze32 advanced because it does have the GPS feature, we'll know that if there's something wrong, it'll probably be something that I've done wrong in the programming. So in order to make this series work, it'll be a 3-part series. We're going to start with the CC3d as our stable or as our base flight controller. And this is similar to the KK 2.1 in that it's not feature rich, but it is a stable platform. So there's no altitude hold, GPS, there's a GPS connectivity, but there's no return to home, there's no mapping or anything with it, but I would say that this is not really a GPS device. So it is definitely easier to use than some of the other controllers. So one of the things that we're going to talk about in part 1 is preparing the build and using the CC3d. I moved from their OpenPilot platform and I converted it over to Cleanflight for 2 reasons. A, I prefer Cleanflight. I've tried to use the OpenPilot and baseflight for the Naze32. I just had little problems with them, getting the receiver to work correctly, and sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't, getting it recognized in my computer. So there were all kinds of little glitches. I could get it to work sometimes, but not all the times, and you had to plug in a certain sequence, and if you miss a sequence, you were pretty much dead in the water. So someone at our flying club suggested that I try Cleanflight, and I have, and I really do like it. I find it's a much more stable environment, and the fact that I'll be using Cleanflight for both the CC3d and for the Naze32 is going to make it easier for these instruction videos as we move forward. There will be a link down below that I use to convert my CC3d from OpenPilot to Cleanflight, and it's the easiest one to use. There were tons of stuff out there on the web on Arduino, and it was a dog's breakfast. Trust me, follow these instructions. It is dead simple. You'll get it over to Cleanflight if you wish to use Cleanflight, and you'll be ready to go. And I think you'll be happier with Cleanflight. I find it's just a little bit better product. Okay, we will be using this copter here. This is a quad that I got from a friend. I'm running out of frames because I have so many things underway and I don't want to rip them down. So I've had to go out and actually bum parts. So this is from a colleague of mine, Mike, who belongs to our club. And this is a frame, a quad frame from Testflight. And I will put a link to this. It's been upgraded since this one has been populated. This is going to be the new quad platform, test platform, just to test all the different controllers. For me, part of the fun is getting some of these things working and investigating the product. So this is going to be the new test platform. It's really a good build that he did. The top part here is actually just a food container turned upside down. It's really nice. It gives you a good protection on the front and gives you some separation from the base. And this little orientation bar is something that, I don't know if he invented it or created it, but it's fantastic. This is when you're flying. This is behind you. When you have it sticking out like this, it weighs nothing. And it's away from the prop wash. So when you're flying, you can actually see this a lot better in the sky when it's orientated away from you, towards you, whether you're pitching up or pitching down. So kind of a handy idea. It's just a skewer, a barbecue skewer with a heat shrink on it and a painted ping pong ball. What a great little, product. Okay, so we will be working on this build. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to populate the CC3d. I'll tell you, it's not a lot to it, but I will go into some of the details. Just for those that, you know, I want you to see the whole process so that if you are having problems, so at least you know that what I've done is working. I will not show you anything that doesn't work, or I won't talk about a product that says, oh, here, this should be good. Every product that I do, that you see on my channel, have all been functioning. And if it hasn't been functioning, I will do a video saying it isn't functioning. Stay tuned. I'm going to go into close-up mode and we're going to take a look at populating the CC3d. Let's move on. Okay, so let's take a closer look at the CC3d. And basically this is the complicated part is actually doing the setup in the computer. As I mentioned in the intro, this is will be in Cleanflight. I have the actually I purchased a generic FR Sky receiver called the RX-F801. It's been working great so far. Hopefully, if I have a chance, I'll do a video on it. So if we take a look at the CC3d, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the motors. Now I know where the motors are going to go based on the colors, and this is green. For those of you that have followed my other videos, I color code my units. However, you'll see that when we go into the Cleanflight, we're going to change these cables to match what the motor layout is. Now, if you've been using the other, if you've been using the Open Pilot software, the motor layout for Cleanflight is different. So it's important that you pay attention. You can't leave these connections in here to what they were before if you converted over from one to the other. So we are simply just going to connect this in. Then we're going to link it up to our software, and it will tell us which motors should be running and what direction that they're in. And as always, we need to be really, really careful that our motors are all going in the right direction. And now I'm just going to plug in the PPM connection from the FR Sky receiver, and we're ready to plug this into the PC and see how it works. Now on this one here, we've orientated this up to the front, arrows here to the front, and we're using our same color scheme. As you know, for all my quads, it's always the same color. Top left is blue, top right is white, back right is yellow, and back left is green. And I mark all my cables the same way, so that helps out. So now let's connect it up to the software and configure and calibrate, and then go for a test flight. Converted it over to Cleanflight, and we have it plugged in. Now, you may have to unplug the USB cable and plug it in again after you've started the program, because it does like a pretty precise sequence, but it works every time. So I prefer this environment. It's much more stable. Ports we don't need to change. We'll need to change that a bit for Naze32. Configuration, this is where you actually select the type of quad that you want. Quad X. Scrolling down, I'm using PPM, so you have to check that PPM process. These are your other sensors. The battery, you have a lot of these features aren't available for the NAS, for the CC3d, so it's just not going to function. You have to know what works and what doesn't work with your unit. Just because it says sonar and telemetry, they're just not there, so they're not functioning. So now that we have that all set, we go into Failsafe is turned on, and that is for those that know how Failsafe works. Is when you have an RX signal loss, you can maintain, like in this one here, it maintains a certain throttle. So I think you can, like for planes, I use it to make sure that it does a circling motion and tries to stay in altitude. So Failsafe works better though when you can when you have a GPS working and return to home, because then you can program it to return to home. But this one here, you just hope to minimize your crash. PID tuning, for those that are keen, read about PIDs. It's kind of the predictive value of how quadcopters and how flight stabilizers work. You can make some adjustments in there, but I would only do it if you really know what you're doing. The receiver test. This is much more stable in Cleanflight. It works every time. Very happy with it. The modes, this is for the flight sticks. This is where you program your sticks as to what they're going to be doing. And adjustments, I've never used it. Servos, for Y-copters and for servos running other devices. You may be using those. I don't use them. GPS. There's a GPS that you can hook onto this, but it doesn't give you return to home. I forget what it does. I think it just provides you with directionality. Motor testing. This is the one thing you want to do. Make sure that your blades are off. And then you can go in and make sure that all your motors are spinning in the right direction. And you just go through here. Make sure that the blades are off and that you flick the switch. And then go through the testing process to make sure that every motor is spinning up in the right order, and that the blade and that they're starting up in the right order and moving in the right direction. Race transponder, don't know anything about it. LED strips, you will use this more on the Naze32 as well as the sensors. You will find that when you hook the sonar up on the Naze32, this will give you a response. Tethered logging, don't know. Black box, don't know. That's it. And this is a command line interface, such as baseflight. You can go in and actually just type in the commands, and when you say exit, it'll save your commands for you. On this one here, I normally go up to configuration and say save and reboot, and for sure, it's going to do the job. Now for the Cleanflight, when you do convert it to Cleanflight, you will not get connection unless you have the battery plugged in to the quadcopter, and you're feeding power to the CC3d via an external power source. You will not power on just with the USB cable. So be very aware of that. So that's now I have to unplug, plug in my USB, and she will connect again. Let's now move on to doing a test flight. So this is the test flight for the CC3d in my garage. It may sound weird, but the garage is big with a high ceiling, so if something does go wrong, I can limit what goes wrong if I'm in my garage, rather than if I get a flyaway outdoors, then I'm really in trouble. Excuse my floor. Winter really plays havoc. Okay, so we've seen now the CC3d build. So we've confirmed that we have a good stable platform, And now we're ready to move on to the Naze32. The advantages of the CC3d, it's like the KK 2.1. It's almost something you need to have in your quad toolbox, so it's always handy to have around. Again, kudos to the Cleanflight crew. That's made life a lot easier. I wish some of these more advanced controllers would use Cleanflight as well. It is a much easier product to use. So now that we've confirmed that we have our quad stable with this controller, let's move on to the next phase and put on the Naze32. And basically, in the first video on that is going to be the straight controller, and we're going to be getting flight and altitude hold using the barometer on the Naze32 for that stability. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I look forward to the next time to seeing you at Emerald Meadows. Bye bye.